All right, welcome everybody. So we are starting a new chapter and a new topic. So we're diving into social and emotional development in early childhood. And we're just doing part one today. There's actually a lot of ground to cover with this specific topic. A lot of new social and emotional skills emerging in early childhood that we need to discuss. A lot of important stuff to go over. But the first stop of our day is going to be developing self-regulation. So when we see the term self-regulation, we probably go straight to thinking about emotional regulation, and that's a huge part of what we'll cover. But there's also other aspects to it that we're going to go over. So we're looking at how do children start learning to act in compliance with social expectations, even if they don't want to or aren't being monitored. How do they self-regulate? So they're learning to control their thoughts, their emotions, and their behaviors. So infants and young children need a lot of help with self-regulation, as you may imagine. When they're infants, they need to be soothed when they're crying. This is one example of how they need help with self-regulation. As young children, they need help with interpersonal interactions, like mediating fights and disagreements with others. They can really struggle navigating these types of situations. So self-regulation opens the doors for functioning as an independent individual, and it's considered an integral part of development. So what we'll talk about first here is regulating thought and action. So how do children regulate their cognitive processes to carry out their actions? A big part of this is effortful control, which is voluntarily managing their behavior. And this is either inhibiting behavior or activating behavior, both of which can be difficult depending on the context. And it includes the ability to stop an action that has already started and is already underway. Another very difficult thing for kids, especially when it's a pleasurable activity, can be hard for them to stop once they've started. So preschoolers can have a lot of difficulty with this. It's tough for them to control their impulsive behaviors and to stop once they've already started doing something, especially in a highly exciting situation, like a game of, say, red light, green light, or Simon Says. You'll see that in these types of games, many of them struggle to stop when they're prompted to do so. The whole premise of these games is to stop and start at given times. So that's why these types of games are actually really good for practicing effortful control in young children. So it's difficult for them, but it's actually really good practice that they're getting. There's a lot of cross-cultural studies that have found that effortful control is associated with academic performance and social adjustment, as we see here, and that girls tend to have higher levels of effortful control than boys, which could go back to differences in socialization according to gender. Um, Effortful control can also be impacted by cultural values. So some cultures emphasize obedience, self-control, modesty, which can lead children to having higher levels of effortful control than their peers who come from cultures without emphasis on these values. So that's an introduction to effortful control, regulating their thoughts and their actions. So one video that I will post for you, it's actually here, but I'm actually just going to post it separately for you to watch since it is a few minutes, but please do watch it. But it's the famous marshmallow test. It's a modern recreation of the marshmallow test. So it's really testing a child's effortful control and self-regulation. So young kids are presented with a marshmallow and they're given two options. You can eat it now, or you can wait until later. And if you do, you'll be rewarded with an extra marshmallow. So there's an incentive. So this is a modern version of this experiment. And as you watch it, I want you to pay attention to the children's attempts at regulating their own behaviors. I want you to think about that as you watch. You'll see them doing a lot of subtle things that are actually regulatory behaviors, like twirling their chair around, fidgeting, playing with the marshmallow. Some of them even start to lick it or take nibbles off it, distracting themselves by drawing, looking away from the marshmallow or walking away from it altogether because they just trying to get that temptation off the table altogether. So there's a lot of things that you'll notice in this video. So it's a very, very cute video that you will watch after this lecture video that builds off effortful control and just self-regulation as a whole. So please do watch that. It's a very difficult task for a kid especially. Now, what about self-regulation and play? So children's play seems to also be a key aspect in developing self-regulation, particularly something called sociodramatic play. It's a fancy word for something that we probably have seen a lot with kids. It's pretend play where they're acting out social roles in some way. So like playing house or playing doctor would be examples of a specific type of pretend play called sociodramatic play, acting out social roles. So in this type of play, children are using scripts that they have encountered in their daily lives, or maybe they something they saw on TV or in stories, but they're acting out scripts of some kind, using scripts to involve their play. So let's watch a short clip here of a couple of kids engaging in sociodramatic play. And at a glance, it looks like just kids playing. But anytime we look closer at kids playing, we can actually see a lot of rich things occurring. So I want you to pay attention to the regulatory behaviors and the perspective taking that we are seeing here. So sit back and watch this, and then we'll come back.
Likes to sleep. Maybe I can put my baby right here. No! Wait. I got. No, you cannot. Oh, you can have sit right here. Yep. We can both sit. Oh, like John. Hey, Mom. Mom. And we can feed them. Mom. No, we can have them drink. Mom. They're talking. Listen. We need this drink.
What are you playing with?
Blanket. We have the blanket. No, we have the. No, this is the blanket. Yes. Pretend your baby doesn't want to sleep anymore.
What will you play with while you wait? You just have to wait. Finish this puzzle with me.
Cut. I think she does want to sleep because my baby's sleeping. You can get one. I can get one for you. Can my baby sit?
Yep, back in the basket would be perfect.
Here. I'm not going to basket.
And you're all set?
I have a blanket for both of them. That one? No, both of them. Both of them. You can go like that. Oh, like this. We have another basket. That's a bigger basket. Mom! So we can put... Mom! Yep. We can put both of our babies there. Mom!
Alrighty, so just a little observation for you all to do to illustrate sociodramatic play and all the rich things involved here. So it's actually pretty complex stuff that we just witnessed. It's, not only are they acting out social roles, but they're also kind of giving each other stage direction, so to speak, commenting on each other's actions and compromising. We saw a lot of compromising, problem solving, working through the situation together based on their own unique understandings of how it should go down, right? So we saw a lot of questions asking each other, like, should I do it this way? And then sometimes they would have some like neutral bickering about what to do, what not to do, no, you're supposed to do it like this. So there's a lot going on here, actually. In many ways, they're acting against their immediate impulses and regulating their behavior according to others' perspectives of the situation that they're acting out here based on what they've seen. So they do so by interacting with their playmates. So this is a very important part of self-regulation. Some research has shown that children who engage in more sociodramatic play have higher levels of self-regulation skills. So pretty fascinating stuff. Hopefully, as we go through this class, we can start to maybe see play in a new light. There's actually a lot of rich things occurring when children are playing, especially in early childhood. So that's where we'll end it here for this video. So thank you for joining, and I'll see you on our next stop.